Come on.
I grew up in a culture.
Howdy, howdy, everyone. Welcome. And I hope you took a moment to take in those stats. They were a little bit depressing, to be honest with you. But I'm Doug Cothey. I am the founder and principal consultant with the People Smart Group. We do consulting work helping organizational leaders to build healthy, strong organizations. We do so by helping them get aligned around what is the most important stuff. We help them build clarity around that, and we help them build great teams and to build that all the way down through their organization. And then I'm also part of and founder of the Organizational Health Collective you see above. And that group is one that we are a group of consultants who are trying to grow and become better consultants together. And if you haven't seen it, go to our page for LinkedIn, and you can see we've got an event coming up on Friday. But over to my trusty co-host here.
I'm Dr. Terry Wager, as it says right there. And for those people who don't read, not that you can't, but you just don't. Terry Wager, Generator Consulting. I'm principal consultant at my own consulting firm. It's a little boutique thing with my partner, Christine. And we are part of the Organizational Health Collective because we believe in the mission to help organizations become healthier and work more productively. We just do this every week because I think it's really good to get out there and share with people our perspective, our information, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've watched any other ones, you can tell we have a little bit of fun here, and we enjoy that. So that's good. And last week, if you were with us, if you viewed our live from last week, we got into who does what and how do we figure that all out. And we promised to dive a little deeper into one of the tools we both use a lot, which is the 6 Working Genius model. And we use that basically to help teams work better together. It's a productivity tool that's extraordinarily helpful. Some of those stats you saw of teams that are misaligned between both understanding and working together well, but also misaligned their gifts with their role. And then also you just see the ways in which really teams are not working well together and the productivity is low. And so we've seen that again and again and again. And one of the beauties we've seen with this model is it helps. It's a major impact on helping teams all get on the same page, all get aligned, where the focus of the model is what brings me joy and energy to do. And so instead of being, hey, this is just a straight personality model, this is more, how am I most productive in the things that I do? And that really helps you align roles, job descriptions around who are the people, as opposed to just random things I've assigned to you and I'm hoping you're any good at.
Right. Our creator, the creator of the test, that's what I mean. Patrick Lencioni talks about the idea that he was disgruntled one day, and one of his people came to him and said, why do you get grumpy sometimes and other times you don't? And so that's where this kind of birthed. And when I saw it, my first experience with it was not in the geniuses, because, well, geniuses are great and everybody talks about strengths and everybody talks about working to your strengths. Everybody talks about all of these things around being your best. But I keyed in on the idea of the frustrations. And so this test we're going to go through and talk about a little bit, but the frustrations was a very interesting piece to me because I happen to be frustrated often with things, and I don't know why. And this gave me a very, very good clue as to why, because I would beat myself up for not doing some of the things that I think I should be. And this assessment, when I took it and started, and it was like a light turned on, and I realized and felt almost forgiven for the areas of frustration for me right away. And so for as long as this assessment has been out, in I think it's 4.5 years, I have been a very big advocate of paying attention to the frustration side of it rather than just the strength side of it, because there's a whole lot of forgiveness of other people and forgiveness of myself for the things that drain me rather than paying attention to what I'm good at. Because, well, I think we spend too much time trying to focus on that to avoid what we're not good at.
Yep.
And if we just understand what we're not good at and understand why it is, we don't have to avoid it.
Yeah, well said. So people are sitting there going, what in the world are you talking about, Terry? So let me throw up the model. This is a quick shot of what the model looks like.
Context where I had to.
Hey, context, what's that about? No, this is just from a slide I recently used with a client, and just give you the idea of the 6 types of working genius. What does it mean? So the idea breaks down into we each have 2 geniuses, 2 competencies, and 2 frustrations. And so, as Terry was saying, the 2 frustrations are those things that drain you. Those are things that you're never going to get energy from. They're always just going to take from you. The competencies are 2 things that you can do, and you can do them for a fairly long time, but eventually they're going to drain you. And then the geniuses are those things. They're like having an electric cord strapped to your coffee cup at the bottom that it's constantly going to stay hot and constantly going to stay heated. You would come home at 4 PM and you have to start doing some of these things, and you would just be energized and thrilled to do it, and you'd do it through into the evening and into the night. They bring you energy. And you can see the 6 categories down the side there: wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And these are the six areas of work to get a project done, to get your work done. It works through these 6 stages. Terry, you want to share what those 6 are?
Well, wonder is
I wonder what that is.
And it's the big questions of like, why does this work this way, or why is it not working that way? A lot of why attached to wonder. Invention is really coming up with, when somebody wonders something, invention goes, I don't know, but let's come up with a way to solve that wonder question. And then discernment is not decision making. I like to make this very clear: is decision making is very different, and it doesn't really have much to do with this model. But discernment is really more about pattern recognition. And I heard it really good. I was in a church service yesterday, and somebody said, well, the pastor actually was talking about discernment. And he said, it's not about yes or no. It's about yes, but not quite.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of discernment for me is really being able to see glitches in the pattern. And when you can see the glitch in the pattern, or you can see the pattern of things and understand where there's a problem, discerners are really good at identifying the glitch in the pattern and being able to smooth that out to make it work, or just go straight up at that pattern, the way I'm seeing it, that's not going to work. We need to do a different thing to the inventor. Galvanizing is really about getting people to see a point of view that maybe they didn't see before, and getting them on board with that point of view. Enablement is really about the starting of whatever project. And so notice, I'm just noticing as I say this, that starting the project doesn't even start to the 5th step in the process. Mm-hmm. And so there's a whole lot of ideation, and there's a whole lot of activation, is what we call those first 2 steps. Invention, wonder is ideation. Activation is the discernment and galvanizing. And then in implementation starts at E, which is enablement, which means we start the project going. How can I help? Is what you hear a lot of enables saying. What can I start with for you? And then tenacity are the finishers, and they love to actually check off the boxes, get things done, put it to bed, and move on to the next thing.
That's great.
How did I do?
Fantastic. Thank you. And I just threw you unexpectedly in the middle.
To a test, but hey,
just wanted to see how well you were doing here.
Because I'm a frustration for me is tenacity. So I did not study.
Yes, absolutely. But I also know you're highly flexible, so you can handle doing this when I just threw it on you at the last second. So one of the other things we see, we'll just hit you with 1 hour here, is there's a line down the middle, and the ones on top, wonder, discernment, and enablement, are all what we call responsive geniuses. That means they're impacted. They only first start diving into things when something else external to them happens. So for wonder, they're looking at the environment around them going, oh my gosh, why is this way? For discernment, they hear an idea come from the inventor and they go, huh, no, not a, then yeah, but, or no, but, or I don't like that. Right. And
That's
the
totally
enablement,
wrong.
here's the galvanizer. Here's the galvanizer getting all excited about the project, the idea, the whatever it is, and they go, oh wow, how can I help? And so they respond. And so they're kind of like the question mark of the group. And then on the bottom, you got invention, galvanizing, and tenacity are all the disruptors. Now this is your we define this sometimes as an exclamation mark, because they're the type that they're just bulling ahead the process. And so the inventor is throwing out ideas. They may not even be good ideas, but they're just bursting forth with ideas as they hear from wonder. The galvanizer is just ready to run. They're ready to get everyone else on the team excited and moving, and tenacity is ready to be done. They're ready to get it finished now, yesterday, the day before, whatever.
The questions that I think about with like wonder is why. The disruptive inventor is, how about this? Mm-hmm. The discerner is, why would we do that? Or yeah, we probably don't want to do that often. The galvanizer is, let's go. Yep. E is, what can I start on? And the T is, we finish this.
Yep.
Or I want to finish this. And so it's kind of those ideas. The one that really sticks out for me is the inventor. How about this? They just walk in. It doesn't matter what's going on. They're just, how about doing this?
Yep.
I got an idea.
Right. And in fact, the disruptors are the ones sometimes you got to shut up, and the responders are the ones you got to draw out. And so it's really helpful to know your team in that way too. It's how do I help my team interact? Well, sometimes I got to quiet the disruptors so I can hear from the others. And then the last piece, just to follow off of Terry's comment earlier, that knowing one another's geniuses and frustrations, it removes that sense of guilt, that sense of, even frustration with one another, but we give each other more grace. We're more accepting of ourselves. We're more accepting of others because we see that this is the natural reality of who we are. And so that's a quick overview of the model, but just to help people understand. And that's one of the key things too, is how do you get people to feel comfortable to interact? Well, this model actually helps build that trust, right? Because all of a sudden we now know each other in a whole new way. We've been vulnerable about what our frustrations are, what our geniuses are, what our competencies are. And now, instead of us looking at, so in my case, I'm a DI, I'm a discerner and invention, and my low two are enablement and tenacity. So I'm terrible at implementation. And yet I love coming up with ideas. I'm filled with ideas. That's kind of a problem for everyone around me sometimes. Yeah. But over the course of COVID, my kids, I decided I'm going to build them a Ninja Warrior set. So it started, my wife said, I think shouldn't we have a swing set? Well, yeah, that got me going. Watch out. Now we got a whole Ninja Warrior set, play area, all this other stuff. And I designed the whole thing in my head. I came up with it. I got my nephew over here. We're building it. And it's 90% complete still. Because And it'd be really easy for someone to look at me and go, you're just lazy. What's your problem? Why can't you finish things? But the problem for me isn't laziness, because guess what? I've gotten about 10 projects done since that one. The problem is I just am not convinced that we got to do that last 10%. I got a better idea coming along the pipe, and I'm ready to go to that one.
I've got them all.
Hey, it's not laziness, but it helps other people accept that I'm not lazy in finishing things. I just am not very good and equipped at finishing things. And so I need others to help me in that zone.
I have the frustration of tenacity too, and for a long time I just thought I couldn't let things end, and I thought it was much more of like a deeper attachment issue. Is like I wouldn't finish series on TV or movies. I'd leave 10 minutes before the end. I don't want it to end, and really I just can't hang around long enough. It drains me to hang around and see the end. But it's really interesting, and it's also funny for me. I have my frustrations are W and T, and so I don't really like to wonder about the beginnings of projects. So really, if nobody ever brought anything to me, I wouldn't start anything. And I don't like to finish them, but I really love the discerning of projects that are brought to me. I love getting people on board with the next steps or the beginnings of projects, because I'm a discerner galvanizer, and so I really see patterns well. It's kind of spooky how I can just see what's going on. It's kind of like I used to tell people that if you remember the movie with Russell Crowe, A Beautiful Mind,
Yep.
where he'd see the equations everywhere he walked. I kind of see patterns like that in behavior and patterns in interactions and how people are perceived or how people are seen or how people are approaching things. And it's like I can see the pattern laying out. And then I'll, as I see those patterns, I can help people see what I'm seeing and help them with the next steps that they can actually move through these patterns. And funny enough, I didn't know that, but as I've developed as a consultant and coach, therapist, whatever the hell you want to call me,
anything, sure,
anything. Yeah, I've been called worse by better. But you know, I see how this has really informed and pushed me into this role. And I mean, there's been times that I don't want to do consulting or do coaching anymore, and I end up doing more of it at a deeper level. And it is, I just can't get away from it because that's kind of how I'm built.
Yep, I'm with you. Yeah, it's been such a confirmer for me in doing consulting and doing coaching. It's the ability to sit in that discerner mode and help other people from there.
Well,
Such a blessing.
It doesn't hurt for me, like when I think about, okay, well, what else would I do? I just slipped into wonder and I get drained, so I just stay with what I'm doing.
Yeah, just sends you right back.
Drains me back.
So to help those out there, now you're sitting there going, okay, so you told me about the model. That's great. How does that impact things like my team actually working well together? How does that impact these things that you say? You know, we're sitting here looking at all these stats of misaligned teams. How does that actually help? What would you say to that?
It doesn't do anything. It's needless information. That's why we're talking about it. You know, and I love the question, how is this going to help? Because I found a wanderer right there. And I can discern them. But honestly, the where I've seen it firsthand is when we start to understand where people are in their genius, we now have a context for why they're asking the questions they're asking or how they're asking the questions they're asking. And we stop being reactive towards it, and we start understanding more from, I'm going to use the word compassion, but it's really an empathic place when they're asking those questions. They're actually working somewhere around their genius. Like Christine is a DT. And so whenever we're in any kind of meeting or conversation, she is discerning on what to tick off first and how fast to get them done so she can tick them off, because she's ambitious and she likes to get the list done. And Doug's experienced this. Discernment is all around how to actually start moving forward to get these things ticked off, where I'm sitting there wondering if it's really a good idea to do them or not. And so understanding how that works is like, oh, okay, so she's actually using her discerning to pick what we do first and get it knocked off. I'm discerning whether we should do or not do a certain activity. And you can see it. And before that, we used to get frustrated with each other a lot because she's discerning my discernment. And it's like, stop it. And I'm galvanizing her discerning the way I want to. And she's, trying to tick off boxes. And you see this, but we're both discerning. And so then we invite Doug in, and his eye gets me to start discerning and Christine to start discerning, and we can really get clear on what next steps are. And so we don't have the W and the others, but we start to really see how well it works together when we are understanding what the letter designations are doing for us or to us. And so I'll let you go now.
Fantastic. You did a great job of how this diagnosis dysfunction. I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
No. Yeah. And I love that.
That's the doctor in my name right there.
He'll write you a script
Diagnosis
if you need.
I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't diagnose something.
Right? Totally. No, I love what you said, because it's so true. So as we said, this is the different areas of work. They form into the stages that we talked about as well. And knowing your people helps you understand, how do I align my people in order for us to actually walk through the process well? Because if I don't do that, then we're gonna be jumping from here to there to there to there to there. And so, even just like as you're saying, Christine's bent is she wants to run from discernment and get to tenacity quickly, and your bent is, okay, that's great, I'm glad you're discerning, but let's go rally the troops, let's go get this thing moving, right? Because you're galvanizer. We all have a bent to move toward our geniuses, because it's what brings us energy, it brings us joy to do, and so we naturally are pulled in that direction, and we'll naturally pull everyone else in that direction if we can. And so, having the self-awareness to know, hey, hold on, we're not in the place where my genius is needed. I should back off a touch and let the people whose geniuses are needed here push and be in the forefront, pulling us along in the direction that we need to go. And so it's really helpful in that regard, because it both helps you align as a leader, align your team. Second, it helps your team understand, where do I dive in and where do I not? When am I going to be in my frustrations? When am I going to be in my competencies? And when is it my time to shine? And Absolutely. So the alignment is so fantastic. It also helps us reorder the job roles and descriptions a lot of times for our team in ways that wouldn't have made sense before. Before, we would have thought, oh, you're the attorney, your job is just go do legal stuff, don't talk to us about all this ideation down here. And yet the example Terry gave last week that Pettit was a guy who was the attorney on the team, and he was the lone inventor. Yeah, and so the team kept regurgitating the same terrible ideas because he wasn't a part of the invention process. But all of a sudden they realized, oh, you're an inventor. You're our only inventor. We need your help. And so all of a sudden he got put in a place within the team that wasn't all about law and legal things. It was actually about coming up with great ideas. And they actually found a way to supplement his help through the rest of the legal team so that he could be there whenever they needed ideas.
He actually, I just heard an update on this. Yeah. I was listening to something Pat was talking about, and that particular lawyer actually left the law department.
Wow.
And went into acquisition completely.
Wow. Yep.
And so that's one of the powers of really understanding this, is when you can understand what your genius is, you start gravitating towards positions that really what's the word? Capitalize on it. Sorry. I was like, captivate. That's not the right word. Hostage. No, that's not it either. But you really gravitate towards those things so you can capitalize on what you're really good at. And again, the big thing for me is a lot of forgiveness around those things that you're not good at. And you know, I toiled through. I say I toiled through, but I mean, I was talking to a lot of people, and the toiling was very small, because doing the assignments for school, I would do them as fast and as thorough as I could, so I get back to talking to people. But a lot of what I did through school, and I didn't think about it, but a lot of what I did through school was, when I had assignments or whatever, I would do a lot of little bits of it in short spurts, because my tenacity is not strong. And the other thing that I did to set myself up, because my tenacity is not good, is when I got the syllabus, and I didn't even realize I was doing this, but I was like, okay, this is due throughout the 18-week period. This first assignment, this big assignment, is due in 3 weeks. I'm going to make it 1 week. And then all of them there, I moved all my assignments up to 2 weeks before. So I could approach it and what I call front load the laziness, because I used to think it was lazy, but front load the tenacious stuff, because I'm not good at it. And so I know I'm going to burn out. I know I'm going to drain. And I knew this intuitively from probably my discernment, is I'm very discerning that I don't have the tenacity, but I get mad at myself. And so instead of being mad at myself, I moved my timeline up, and I was finished with everything very, very early. But then when it came to things like I don't know, turning in hours to make sure that the school was tracking my hours. I kind of forgot, and I almost got kicked out of school because I did everything I was a student with everything except turning in hours.
Oh man.
And I therapy hours, and I was like, I want to help people. I don't care about these hours, and I don't know why they care about these hours. But I needed 3,000 of them to have my doctorate, so I guess they were kind of important to track. But I didn't see it that way because honestly, there's another piece of it that tracking the hours in my head ruined the exercise of learning therapy and going and helping people in the therapeutic process.
Yep.
And so I had rationalized diminishing the tenacity part of it,
Yep.
capitalizing on the idea that I am helping people and that should take precedence over this tenacious activity. It's like, no. If you really look at it, step back at it, you're not doing what you're supposed to.
Right. No, but really, I'm the right one, right? I'm doing the right thing.
That it's more than hours. No, just do your hours or you're going to get kicked out. Oh, sorry.
Right.
That's fine.
But no, I can. Yeah. What a great example of how both toward ourselves or toward others we can be very judgmental if we don't understand it, and so we're quickly either raising ourselves up or lowering ourselves down based on, well, I do the more important thing, or you do the more important thing, or I'm suck at this, and or you suck at this, and now all of a sudden it's a matter of judgment and guilt instead of a matter of, guess what, you're really talented over here. This is not my talent set, and I'm really talented over here. Let's use them both.
I'm so multi-versatile that I don't even need anybody else to have the argument. I can do it myself.
He galvanizes himself every day, people.
For and against.
Right. Oh my gosh. And so to help folks, I mean, this is so revolutionary to so many teams that we have worked with. I have seen teams where people were just stuck and bothered with one another and upset at one another, and all of a sudden the light goes on and they go, oh my gosh, really? That's not because you're like this? No, that's just because that's not my strength and my gifting. And so when we work through with a workshop with this, I mean, it's fantastic to watch teams come alive as they go, holy cow, this is how this works. Oh, and this is how we can work best. And so when I do a workshop or I do it as part of the larger, even offsite with a team, this is a time where I don't spend a whole lot of time on the teaching side. I spend more time. I give them videos beforehand to say, hey, learn the model as much as you can, and then we fly through it. And I do my best to make sure everyone gets it, but I want them to play with it. I want them to apply it. And so I'm constantly looking for, what do you have as a project? What do you have as something that all of you are working on? And let's play with this using the 6 working geniuses to see how you would do things differently than how you do them otherwise. And it is amazing to see how quickly people grasp the model. So, I mean, really, I had one leader say, within 10 to 15 minutes, we understood this. We'd taken all sorts of other personality inventories, all this other stuff. And we were constantly going, oh, what do we do with this? And then here they took this, and within 10, 15 minutes, they were running with it in the middle of a project, in the middle of our workshop, and they got it. And it became real to them. And it really changed how they approached things. I had one team. This is a great example. It's a legal team, but they were the management of the law firm. And so they were having issues with some of the software. And so this team, we're running through how they ran through, what do we need software-wise? And it's funny because there were literally no wonders or inventions on the tech IT team. And so they're sitting there telling us, well, so what we did, we decided because this person needed this, and we had to figure it out, so we just did this. And I'm like, well, why? I played wonder, even though it's a competency for me. But I was like, well, why'd you do that? Well, because that was all we could do. Well, no, why was that all you could do? Could there have been a better solution? Well, I don't know. And so it was interesting. And then, of course, the person who was wonder started jumping in. I just sort of laid it out there first. And to see, they had no idea why they would do what they did, because there was no wonder to identify the need. There was no wonder to identify the problems. And there was no invention to go, okay, well, this is the slew of possibilities of ideas. And so they just regurgitated what they do with other software previously, instead of realizing, hey, there might be a better solution here that could be less expensive, that could be more efficient, be more effective, it could be more, but they had no ability to think that through as the smaller group. But once they brought it in the bigger team to work it through, it was amazing the conclusions they came to of what really worked better. And it was not their idea. And so it changed that for them so quickly, how they went about figuring out, how do we solve this problem? What is the problem first? And then how do we solve it in a whole new way from an IT perspective within the management team there? And I mean, it was revolutionary to them just in the workshop alone.
Well, right. And I think that no matter what's going on, when we're looking at, okay, how can we perform better as an organization, starting at looking at how people are organized in the organization, to use the word over and over, the the idea of what people are good at rather than job description is super important, because the job description is what people used to use for hiring to identify what this job entails, and this is what we're looking for with this person with the skills. And one of the things that has come up, especially around Working Genius, and I mean, other people have been looking at it and going job descriptions and what are we really doing? And Jim Collins years and years ago came up with, skills aren't as important as culture fit. This is same thing. Skills aren't as important as culture fit, but also genius is more important than skills. And so now it's how we do it, and we actually help people with their hiring processes and their onboarding processes and all of those things. It's part of what we do. We're not HR, but we make it so you don't need the coming down effects of HR after you screw up. And so we're basically HR proofing your job, because the way I would explain HR is they're the compliance piece. But really, building your team is not an HR thing because they're compliance, but building your team is really about talent acquisition and talent management, and really being able to understand how to develop high performance teams. And so Christine and I really focus on, okay, what is your hiring process? Are you a recruiter or are you a hirer? If you're a hirer, let's look at how you're going about that. If you're a recruiter, you're smarter, and so that's good. But then, this is my opinion, but recruiting is much better than the idea of hiring. When you're starting to look for what they're doing, you want to first focus on culture fit. And really, do they align with our vision? Do they align with our values? Do they like the mission that we're trying to accomplish? Then we want to look at that idea of values and see it. Okay, we're aligned. Great. Now, what is it that you're really good at, and how can you help us, one, elevate our culture, and two, elevate our work process? And so really understanding how to move us forward in the work process as well as the culture. And then, okay, what skills do you bring, and what skills do we need to teach you? And is it skills that you're capable of learning? And so skills is kind of a third thing. And when we go that way, what we have found is the teams, one, gel together much better. Just amazingly comfortable and exciting to be there. And there is no stress, drama, or trauma that you see in big organizations that go for hiring skills first. The next thing we see is the innovation and the acceleration of the business itself. And I'll give you an example. I do another live stream on Thursdays with a partner of a company called Precision in Rhode Island. And man, they went from really struggling and probably 2 months from bankruptcy last year in June to now they're at somewhere around 3.5 million this year.
Wow.
And they just extended another offer to another person who they don't need on their team. They want on their team because he's culture fit. and he fills a couple of the boxes that they don't have in their organization as far as how to see the projects in the widget model. He's a wonder. They don't really have. They've got one wonderer, but he's in the finance department, so he doesn't count. I'm just kidding. But
Read
he's,
financials.
he's a wanderer on the job site and an inventor, and so they're really excited to have this new person. And his skills are phenomenal, and so he ticks all three boxes, and they are really excited. And we're actually, at least me and the CEO of the company, are really believing that we bring this person on. They don't necessarily need him right now. They don't have enough work for him, but with him on the team, they can go from 3.5 to probably about 10 million next year.
Wow.
I would believe, because one of the things that happens, and this is one of the most important things out of this whole thing that I'm going to say anyway. Doug probably will say a lot more important things. But this is the biggest importance for me with this is when we do the hiring from culture, working genius to skills, what we do is increase capacity of the business to be able to far expand what they were even a year before. Really pay attention to this.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's capacity rather than coverage.
That's great. Yep. And what a great picture too of, so often our hiring process is actually we're jammed up and we can't do anything, so we're trying to solve a problem instead of, hey, this is a perfect fit for our company and this person's going to expand our ability to grow exponentially in your case there. And so what a great example. It's like is your hiring merely to pull the cork out and let the flow go, or is your hiring to exponentially expand your capacity? And what a difference that would make if we really hired for that.
Yeah, and I did this process without knowing what working genius was, and without knowing a whole lot, kind of muddled into it. Just, I think with the discernment that I have, seeing the patterns and things, probably about 2017, 2016, I was helping a lawyer put a firm together, and we did a very similar process. I was like, it doesn't matter if they have the skills or not. What matters is if they actually can work with you really well, and if they're able to. And I was just that time thinking about scaling the business. If they have the capacity to get on the phone and get clients for you, then we can really pay attention to skills in another piece. And so we really, okay, does he line up with you? So you want to see him every day. And then does he have the skills that you're looking for, or she? Or they really, do they have the skills that you're looking for to bring you to that next level? And then to really pay attention to the skills, and I don't mean skills as far as being a lawyer, but I mean the skills that you're looking for to grow. So if you think about DISC, the ID who can actually do sales process and understands what results is all about, and that type of thing. Or are they somebody that's going to be more steady and just want to come in and do what they're supposed to do? Or, so are they outgoing, and are they going to do sales? So we put together a sales process with that. And then what we did for skills to have that as more of a filter rather than a hiring reason is give them a couple of tasks to do to prove out whether they are at the level of skill you're looking for. And that will be the final determinant after we do this. And so I was already doing this model a little bit, but when I saw, and I mean, this is a lot of what happened with me and Lencioni's stuff, is when I saw his stuff, I was like, I'm already doing that. I just didn't know that there was a simple model show and a simple model to work from. And so what a lot of Lencioni's stuff did for me is made me faster at what I already do. And that's the thing that I think about. And that's why scaling is so much better now, is because when you have these different pieces, you can go in, and it's almost like, instead of having to create the schematic again, you have the schematic to put in place, and now we just put the pieces where they go. And so we have a nice template to make a hiring process and make your business grow fast.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So in essence, what I hear you saying about the Lencioni stuff is it gave you a simplified template that was everything you were already doing, but it said, oh, well, here's the template, and it's simplified down in a way that I can share it real easily with people. They can get it real easily, and we can move it down the field.
Absolutely. Well, the other thing that's just really true is when I say Terry Wager, they go, who? And if I say Pat Lencioni, they go, oh, yeah, I know him. Five Dysfunction.
Yeah, that helps too.
There's a little bit of recognition because, and I have another friend I'll shout out named Doug McGurk. And he says something that's really funny that always just impressed me. But he's like, there's only so many ways to draw a box. And so we're all doing similar things. But in this day and age of information, what makes it the simplest to understand so people can settle their mind down and actually have that feeling of excitement out of moving forward instead of being the confusion of what should I do. That's where I find a lot of brilliance in Lencioni's models, as well as once they get the model, I can help them navigate through it. And I mean, that's what you're doing, and that's what all the people are doing. But there's model versus effectiveness with the model too.
Yep.
And so just because you know his models doesn't mean you're effective.
Yep, very true. And I love that he also, the other piece I love is that he makes the point that just because it's simple doesn't mean we're any good at applying it. We've got to have the discipline, and we've got to have someone there that helps us think through, hey, is this really doing what we said we're, yeah, this is your clarity. This is what you said you were going to do, but are you actually doing it? Are you actually doing it? And being able to hold the feet to the fire as a consultant for me is a service I think that I give to my clients is, hey, I'm here to be the outside set of eyes so that when you have a blind spot to where you're not really applying this, where you're not really living it, or the next time you come up with a nice shiny object that's like, hey, look at this new management trend. And I can go, why are we doing a new management trend? There doesn't need to be something new. I mean, in the words of Alan Mullally, when he got asked, later on, well, what's new this year? What are we going to do different? No, we're not. We got the 1-4 plan. That's what we're doing. We're going to keep applying it and applying it better. We're going to keep applying it and apply it better. We're going to grow at our application of it. And I think so many companies, so many leaders need that help because they're so pressured to have the next idea. Everyone outside of them is like, well, what's next? What's the new big thing? What's exciting? And we're adrenaline junkies for something new instead of saying, oh no, I need to be disciplined to actually fully live out what we said we're doing. And there's always a new cycle. I mean, you think about executive teams. If you have an executive, you get a new executive in, you got a whole new team. It's starting again at building the trust, building the dynamics, building that cohesion. And so it's an ongoing process. It doesn't ever end. And yet it's sticking with that discipline. And I love he makes that point. It's like, sure, this is just simple, but can you do it?
Absolutely. And I think along with that, when people are talking about new things, working genius is a new thing, but it's a refining of what you have.
Yep.
And the word for me with any kind of business is refine. We don't want to come up with new stuff all the time. We're going to have to come up with new stuff every once in a while.
Yep.
But you come up with one plan, refine it until it's working so good that there's nothing more to refine. And then through that, by the way, through refining, you're going to also end up with innovation.
Yep.
Because, hey, you know what? I think I know how to do this faster, easier, simpler. Great. And as we do that, we become much more honed. And I had another supervisor, it wasn't supervisor, another coach a few years back. And she said, the goal of your business is to get bored. Mm-hmm. And what she was talking about is not to be bored with business, but to be bored with your process because you become so good at it and so refined at it that there's nothing more to tweak and you're just doing it.
Yep.
I could probably count on one finger the amount of businesses that really do that well.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. And between the two of us, it'd still probably be one finger.
We tend to not refine because we're fortunately and unfortunately, we are the human animal. Ooh, did I say that out loud? The human animal likes to look outside for the answer instead of inside for the answer. And so if we're thinking about it as an organization, we don't go refine, that's inside. We go, what else can we get? And
Mhm.
so, you own 10 CRMs and use one pretty okay sometimes.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like, okay, well, let's get rid of the other 9 and let's get that thing working so nobody is confused about it.
Right.
And
Well, and
then move to the
one
next.
one of the things I've been seeing a lot lately too is there's so much of the move to people talk about. So like I've seen a lot of posts online about being an authentic leader, and then they lay out all these descriptions of what is an authentic leader, and then they say, so go be an authentic leader. And I'm like, no, if I don't do any self-analysis, if I don't actually know who I am and where I trip over the idea of being authentic and where I'm good at being authentic, I'm not going to be an authentic leader. I might put it on for a little while, but guess what? That's going to be inauthentic, number one. And number two, it's going to fail.
But I
Right?
bought the book on being an
Right.
authentic
And
leader,
we
and I'm
do that same
following the
thing.
steps.
It's like, I love this is actually looking at who am I and how do I come to work and what energizes me and what moves me from within. And so now I know how to handle me in a way that helps the team, as opposed to going the other way and saying, oh, we're going to drop a model on you that helps you. Now just have your team conform.
Right. And the other piece, again, when we get into the frustrations, not just the things that we're good at, but also being able to celebrating the things we're good at, but really forgiving and allowing grace around the things that we're not good at. Because the one thing I think that we're missing in all of humanity is grace.
Yeah. Yep.
And we all walk around saying we have it, except for that guy because he's a
Right.
jerk. And
Right.
and when we
Very accepting.
understand what's going on, the grace starts to flow through us. And when we can really get that, it's like, oh, I can actually be at my best by allowing them to not be good at tenacity because, well, Terry's not very good at he gets drained. He needs to take a nap after he checks 2 things off a box, right? And so what can we have him do while other people are checking those boxes? Or if he's contributing to it, how can we re-energize him after he does something so that he moves forward? And that's what I was getting at when I did my work in school. I spent maybe 15 or 20 minutes on a project at a time, and then I would go do something I really like to do. Go talk to people, go look at something and kind of understand how it's working. I would honestly, I played a lot of video games at that time too, it was the 90s. But what I really like to do more than anything was to get into a model of one of the psychological figures from the past and go, okay, how does this model work? And how is it like this one? And how is it like that one? And so instead of doing my work a lot of times, I'd be messing with this research and learning. And what I was really doing, and I didn't know it, was I was working on my dissertation 3 years away that I didn't even start yet, that I didn't even know about.
Wow.
But a lot of that information went into my dissertation, and I took a lot of the different things and really put into from the pattern recognition piece of the discernment, really got excited about that, where I wasn't excited about the paper that I was writing.
Right. Yeah.
What I also ended up doing in my dissertation is when it came time to do it at year 3, they said, okay, you got to write a dissertation. I was like, oh crap. And I was like, well, here's my title. And I think I have this paper that talks about the beginning. I'll read it and see how it works. And I'll read this one that comes and talks about the end a little bit. And really throughout the process of writing my dissertation, I realized that I wasn't having to rewrite a new paper. I took everything I did over those 3 years and organized it into a cogent 3-year thought that I pushed forward into a dissertation about how we human beings have an attachment issue, not mental disorder. And it was an amazing step forward into how to actually work with people in a different way than the broken mental health model that I believe we have.
Yeah. Well, and what a great example of you naturally work within your genius of discernment to put all that together Where someone else who's got tenacity, it's like, oh no, I've got to go to the books, I got to research, I got to do all the digging, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do this. And their pattern is going to look very different of getting that dissertation than yours. And if we don't understand ourselves well enough, we're going to constantly be trying to replicate someone else's pattern instead of actually living out of who we are, which gives us energy and joy to do. And that's the power of this model. That's the power of the self-understanding that comes through this model. And even you hit on, and I love this, I constantly am talking to people about how do I even use this to manage myself? Like, this is a great team tool, but even personally, like for me, I will organize my day on purpose, knowing when I have to do a lot of tenacity stuff, I'm going to put some invention or discernment before it and some invention and discernment after it. So I come in with energy into the tenacity out of my invention and discernment. I waste all that energy doing tenacity, not waste, but I use it. And then I come back out and I get to re-energize.
It drains.
I'll do the same with my day, right? Start my day with some invention and discernment, get through all the other stuff, and then end it with invention and discernment. The other piece of ending it with invention and discernment for me is I actually get to go home with my wife and kids without being utterly wasted, because I've now done some invention and discernment. And so now I've got some energy as I go home for the next part of my work life.
Well, and without shame, because I didn't get all those things I was supposed to get done. The most interesting thing about me with my dissertation, as I look back on it, is I didn't know I was doing it, and I had no idea that was the trajectory. And that's one of the things I think is really cool about the idea of discernment, is when you look back, you go, oh yeah, how about that? And you can see it with that hindsight bias, right? I knew all along. I did not know all along. I was pleasantly surprised with all of the work that I've been doing had been moving me in a direction, and I didn't know it. And I think that the big point I'm making here is that if we allow the grace of not understanding why people are acting in the certain way they're acting, and we can look back at going, okay, how is their working genius or working frustration playing into that? Then we can actually understand them from a different point of view that is uplifting to them instead of frustrated with them.
Yeah. Well, we're running up closer to an hour here, so I want to probably pull us together. But one of the things I wanted to say, and maybe in my finishing thought, would be this. There is so much that the Working Genius model, and especially being able to have someone facilitate it and walk through it with you, can do for your team. It can help you to work so much better together. It's a productivity tool. You've heard that. It helps with employee engagement, because guess what? When I'm doing things I enjoy, I don't want to leave the company. I want to stay here. I'm excited to be here. I don't even dread showing up at work. I'm actually showing up to work excited and ready to go. And so retention, employee engagement, all those things. But there's another step. How many leaders out there of you hate meetings? You hate them. How many of you who are employees hate meetings? Well, it actually impacts that. How do I organize a meeting around the geniuses that are needed for the meeting so that we actually are all there engaged, working hard, diving in, aligned, on the same page? And so there's so much stuff we can do with this that helps with alignment. It helps with retention. It helps with engagement. It helps with meetings. It helps with keep naming it and going out. And there's so many ways we can roll this out to help you. So that was my quick summary. Over to you, Terry. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. If you want your business to grow and you want your organization to have the harmony that you avoid conflict for, stop avoiding the conflict and start doing some of the things that Doug and I are talking about, especially Working Genius. And, bring somebody in, whether it's Doug, whether it's me, whether it's table group. I don't care who you bring in. I would rather it be me or Doug or both of us. But I don't care who you do. Do yourself a favor and do some of this work, because you're going to see your business expand. You're going to see it accelerate in the direction you're going to go, and you're going to experience a different level of fulfillment that you didn't even know you could have when you engage in this work. And while you do it, you're going to make a lot more money.
Yep. So if you don't want to be energetic or joyful in your work, then don't do this.
Exactly.
But if you do, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. And so reach out to us. We would love to be able to be a help, whether it's just pointing you to resources or if it's you bringing us in to help facilitate. we love helping people, and that's really why we're here. So we can offer you things that are helpful. And so this has been great. Thank you, Terry, and thank you all for joining us. And we will look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place, and we will head on out now. Have a good week.